I guess you could characterize it as a game that James Harden has played many times before.
And won.
While you were sleeping, the massive news from Woj out of the NBA. The Clippers get James Harden from the Sixers in blockbuster trade style involving 7 players. There's 4 draft picks. It's a pick swap. Let me show you what it looks like. Take a moment and just read through the names there. Harden and 2 others going to the Clippers. Philly gets 4 veteran players. They get 2 first-round picks. They get 2 second-round picks. They get a future pick swap as well. And so leave it to Woj to upstage NFL trade deadline day with the biggest trade of the NBA season. He had it while you were sleeping overnight. I'm giving you the floor here. We knew this. We knew it's what Harden wanted. It did not always appear that there was going to be an easy path. How did they get there, and what does it mean?
Greeny, in a lot of ways, James Harden eventually wore down the Sixers organization. The idea of reincorporating him into this team that has started off really well, winning 2 of their first 3 games. Tyrese Maxey looks like an all-star. And the belief that the Sixers had that they were getting the Clippers' best offer now, that got the deal done. Conversations started again over the weekend. And then deep into the night last night, around 1:30 a.m., 1:45 a.m., the Clippers and Sixers reached an agreement, and the deal was done. And now, listen, LA gets what they've wanted all along. You know, a frontline point guard to pair with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. And the Sixers now, they get the kind of draft assets that they wanted that allows them to go out perhaps later in the season and see if they can't replace James Harden with a player who can help this team make a run in the East.
Yeah, so we know this is what Harden wanted. We see what they put together in L.A. Health remains a big question, but if those guys are healthy, clearly that's an insanely talented roster. Let's leave them to the side. What does it mean for Philly? And I guess maybe more to the point, what does it mean for Joel Embiid's future in Philly?
But Daryl Morey hopes that they can address Embiid's short-term future, again, by using those draft picks, the expiring contracts, to go out later this year and flip those assets in a trade. And certainly the Sixers look at what they got in this deal. They see it as comparable to what the Celtics had in going out and getting Drew Holiday. Philly bid on Drew Holiday. They didn't have enough. They think now they would have enough, for the next borderline all-star or all-star player who might become available this season. And then next summer, and this has been Philly's plan all along, they have max salary cap space to go out. They can use that in free agency. They could use it in a trade. And so they hope now, as they reshape this roster, they can make a case to Joel Embiid that this is still a place that he can stay and compete for a championship.
While you were sleeping, the trade deadline, it blew up, but in the wrong sport. Woj breaking the news overnight that the Clippers have acquired James Harden from the 76ers in a blockbuster deal. We're talking 7 players, 4 draft picks, and a pick swap. Let me show you all the names here. There's a lot on your screen so you can see. This took a lot of doing to get done. Harden and 2 others going to the Clips. Philly gets 4 vets. They get 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, and a future pick swap as well. So we've had Woj on live this morning with all the insight into how the deal got done. And here's our man, Timmy Legs, to talk about the aftermath. So this is something we knew was coming eventually, we figured. What does it mean? What's your number one takeaway now that the deal has been done?
Well, my first takeaway was I was told I could sleep in because I wasn't on early on Get Up. And I rolled over and I see a bunch of missed calls. I knew what had happened without even looking at my phone.
Okay.
All right, so I look at this situation. At first I say, what took so long? Because this was the obvious eventual landing place for James Harden. And they had to recalibrate, I think, the Sixers, what they thought they could get. They were desperately trying to get Terrence Mann. They thought James Harden's probably worth a little bit more. A few years ago, this trade would have looked different. Now, this is what you get for James Harden. You get some guys in their mid-30s who are role players, who are primarily defenders and spot-up three-point shooters, and then the picks, that's a whole nother issue you can discuss if they have any value whatsoever. James Harden needed to leave Philadelphia for that organization to move forward and get out from under this black cloud of malaise that James Harden has caused there. They have a guy in the wings that we needed to see what his ceiling was. Early returns this year, I think you're seeing what Tyrese Maxey's ceiling is. Okay, so now you have another legitimate star caliber talent to give the basketball to. This is going to be significantly better for Joel Embiid's body language, demeanor, his general state of health mentally when he goes to the arena, because you're not going to worry about in the postseason, is James Harden going to shrink when you have to have him, and that affects Embiid. Don't have to worry about that. And you got back pieces that can help them now with their size, their length, their ability to defend, and their ability to space the floor around Embiid and Maxey. So this deal makes a lot of sense for Philadelphia. They got better. Anybody that thinks they know what this is going to mean to the Clippers are trying to sell you something, because there are massive leaps of faith you're going to have to take to think that this is going to work out with some seamless integration with James Harden going to the Clippers and those guys all stay healthy.
I think that's right. Look, I mean, I'm trying to wrap my head around what to say about James Harden and what his place is going to be when someday we try and characterize his career. In the last 4 years, he has been on the Rockets, on the Nets, on the Sixers, and now here he goes out to the Clippers. Each time because he just decided he didn't want to be there anymore and made no secret of it and forced his way from one place to the next, to the next, to the next. And the one thing all those teams have in common, we'll see what happens in L.A., is they didn't necessarily get better for his having been there. So how do we characterize the player that the Clippers are getting?
I think the best way to characterize James Harden is this is one of the most unstoppable offensive forces in the history of this league, and that's how he's going to be regarded. He's not going to be a guy that's going to be regarded as a winner or a leader, regardless of how this turns out with the Clippers. Because even if those guys do stay healthy and they make a run and they get all the way, to me, that's going to be because Kawhi Leonard stayed healthy. And they already had enough to contend without James Harden. That's the thing. Now, Harden and Westbrook being paired up again, and Westbrook actually looks pretty good at the start of the year, and his energy has been great. How does this affect Russell Westbrook going forward? And is this an insurance policy to give you that offense you're going to need on nights when you're not playing Kawhi Leonard or Paul George? And who knows, if you're left without either one of those guys in the postseason, this isn't going to have any significance at all for the Clippers in terms of how you view them against teams like Denver and the Lakers and Phoenix. I don't think they're on that level. Let's see what happens. Revisit the Clippers in a couple of months. I know right now, this instant, the Philadelphia 76ers are better, they're more relevant, and they've got a better chance against teams like Milwaukee and Boston as we sit here today. I don't know yet about the Clippers. I've got to see what's going to happen with them.
I completely agree with you. I think on an enormous level, this is, pardon me, addition by subtraction in Philadelphia. Let me run the floor while I've got you here. Great performances in the NBA last night. Warriors 3-0 on the road, 42 from Steph. Is their championship window still open?
Yeah, it definitely is. And as long as you haven't seen any decline in that player, yes, the Golden State Warriors are still in the mix. And Steph Curry looks as good as he did when he was 28 years old. It's really amazing to think that he could come out of the gates looking like this. Yes, the Warriors are still in the hunt because of how special Steph Curry is, and he had another one of those nights last night.
Talk about another special player. Giannis had 33, Dame Lillard 25. Milwaukee by 8 over Miami. What do you like most about the pairing?
Well, I think the best thing about this is the pressure it takes off of Giannis Antetokounmpo to decide matters late in games. And that is when Giannis has gotten himself in some trouble, and the Bucks have had some issues in the postseason because he tried to do a little bit too much. And at times, if his jump shot fails him, his free throws are not there, now you've got an issue closing games. That's not the case now with Damian Lillard. It takes pressure off of Giannis, and you saw that in their first game.
Talk about the Lakers. We have wondered a lot about Anthony Davis early this season. Last night, he gave them everything you could ask for. 26 points, 19 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 blocks in a game that they won, but it went right down to the wire. What stood out to you most?
Well, his physicality. You know, he makes a huge difference when he is ready to play that physical and be that engaged. And this is something about Anthony Davis we're going to continue to talk about, because he will have other nights when it's a little bit more passive and drifts, and then you wonder about the Lakers because of the age of the roster and everything else. I think they're a tier 1 team, meaning I think there are 5 teams right now as I sit here that I say these are the 5 teams that you expect one of those to win a championship at the end of the year. The Lakers are in that category. Phoenix, Denver, Milwaukee, Boston are the other 4. Then you've got that next layer of teams where I would put a team like Golden State, probably have to put the Clippers into that category as well if a lot of things go right. Philadelphia probably in that category. There are 5 teams I think that clearly you would expect to pick one out of a hat and say this team's going to win a championship this year. I think the Lakers are on that level, when Anthony Davis looks the way he did last night and most nights, honestly.
Well, so that's maybe why we trust the Nuggets so much, because we think we know what we're going to get from them. The Clippers come with all these ifs. The Suns come with all these ifs. And the Lakers, Anthony Davis feels like he's a little bit of an if. If all the answers come back yes, if all those things work out, do the Clippers become the favorite, dare I ask? I mean, if those guys are healthy and they're playing together, that is a lethal combination of talent.
With such a small sample size, Greeny, for some of these other teams adding key pieces, Denver is still the team I'm giving the benefit of the doubt to. The core continuity in their starting five is so special. They played almost a perfect first quarter opening night. It just doesn't happen that teams look that good to start the year on ring night. Their off seasons were different. Number one, they were shorter because they went all the way to the finals. Also, just the attention they get, their focus, everything is different. Then you come into the season, you go through ring night. You're sort of in a fog. It's surreal. You come out a lot of nights, those teams look really flat to start the game. They come out and play a perfect game offensively in the first quarter. It tells you where they are as a unit. Now, we have questions about their bench. They lost some key pieces. Early returns, their bench looks pretty good with some of these new parts that they're incorporating and playing a lot of minutes. These other teams, Phoenix, I need to see them together for a while. I need to see the Lakers. I need to see the Clippers. I need to see Lillard and Antetokounmpo longer, right? I need to see Porzingis longer in Boston. I don't need to see much with Denver. I know what they have. That's why, for me, I'm giving them their